Preface. This review is based on the digital version of the album. Making a Door Less Open is an album full of differences. Not only does it mark a clear departure from the band's previous work, there are also several styles at play here, sometimes in the same song. And as much as I did like the album, the greatest difference of all is between the album's quality and the reputation Car Seat Headrest has earned over the last few years. Now, let's get this out of the way. This is not a bad album by any means. All the singles were enjoyable, playlist rotation worthy. While I don't really understand why the over 7-minute There Must Be More Than Blood was released as a single, as I would have preferred to have discovered it in the back of the album, nothing can take away from this musical journey. From the intro, which draws you in while setting the scene for the stomping backbeat, to the compelling narrative, which weaves the story of a changing life and uncertain relationships while simultaneously fusing classic rock and electronic elements, in a way that echoes the best of How to Leave Town. Deadline's Hostile was a great surprise, with its multiple choruses and dark tones being propelled by an instrumental that puts Teens of Denial-esque guitars and drums front and center. And I don't care what anyone says, I love Hollywood, even though I much prefer the radio version, which is left off in favor of allowing Andrew to scream annoyingly for a solid 30 seconds. The rest is great though, with lots of earworms and moments of perfect harmony between the instrumental and vocals. Between the chorus and Andrew's verse is a flawless display of chemistry with the shifting beat and singing style. I really haven't been able to get the like Moses and the subsequent whisper part out of my head since I heard it. However, here's where the problems start. There's a reason why I only listed 3 songs, because to me those were the only 3 that really felt like complete expressions of an idea. I said I liked all the singles, and that's true, but some certainly had faults. Martin felt like a return to back to basics Car Seat Headrest, and that style certainly worked on the aforementioned songs, but what held it back from joining them in the quality department was the comparatively weaker songwriting. It felt a little too generic, relying on the I Will Find You part too much to let the otherwise engaging verses really stand alone, and the description of their connection just felt a little too vague and not as personal as it needed to be. I agree with those who said that the instrumental on Can't Cool Me Down was pretty boring, but the song almost made me forget that with the wonderful first verse and chorus, where all I had to do was stand back and let Will Toledo loose. The issue I have with it was that afterwards, it didn't do a whole lot more with its over 5-minute runtime, depending more on that instrumental to carry in the back half and feeling awkwardly paced as a result. Pacing, along with the lack of completeness, was one of my biggest complaints about the album. Weightlifters was close to being great, but there were too many awkward pauses of just letting the instrumental run that it made the verses feel disconnected. I don't mind long intros, of which Car Seat Headrest have had more than a few, but interrupting the flow of the song brought what was a great concept down a peg for me. The lack of completeness was really felt on tracks like What's With You Lately, which had potential but really wasn't given any room to breathe, and Him's remix, which was inexcusably bad and not worth dedicating any more time to here. More than anything, the album felt like a transitional piece rather than something that could really stand alone. And this makes sense when you consider the time frame of their output. Before this album cycle, everything that defined Car Seat Headrest came out in a 6-year perfect storm of creativity that saw album after album released successfully and with acclaim. Very little of this was with the full band that exists today though, with them putting out a few releases at the end of this run. And while this is conjecture, they would have probably deferred to Will's vision a lot early on, as this was very much his baby. However, a similar time frame has passed from Teens of Denial to Making a Door Less Open, with little in the way of new music from the proper band, while One Trait Danger, their more electronic and goofier side project, has dropped 2 albums in the last 2 years. This more electronic sound has been their sound for a while now, it just hasn't really been felt in the main band yet. While of course electronic elements had been present in older Car Seat Headrest material, it still stayed true to the more introspective, depressing tone. Combining the not-too-serious One Trait Danger style with the existing style that has become beloved is certainly a difficult challenge, and it's clear potential fan backlash scared them to an extent. I said before that I didn't know why There Must Be More Than Blood was a single, but if I had to guess, it would be that Hollywood was kind of divisive and they wanted to reassure existing fans. The awkward way this was rolled out supports the idea that it was a quick decision, with there being no official single on Apple Music. The split between going all in on the new while clinging to the old was felt across the album. There wasn't room for a lot of the raw emotional moments that have defined the discography up until now, as this wouldn't really work with the more dance-ready instrumentals. I did enjoy Deadline's Thoughtful, but felt this could have seriously benefited from picking a lane, with a vocal delivery that felt like it was angling for a sadder tone, told over a groovy, pulsating beat which begged for a more fun style. Committing to either one would have notably improved it, and this goes for other tracks too, like Life Worth Missing, which had a lot of potential and some good moments throughout, but ended up feeling like a killer's deep cut that just heard about this song called Bodies. That's the biggest reason why I enjoyed Hollywood. Yes, it wasn't the deepest song ever, but it knew exactly the tone it was going for. I like Famous more than the consensus seems to, because while the instrumental was kind of jagged and kitschy and the song felt like a random train of thought, these styles fit each other perfectly and combine to be more than the sum of their parts. I'm still excited for this new direction from the band. The album feels more like a stepping stone for greater heights, and the issues seem fixable with just a bit more focus. However, I'm here to review The Stepping Stone. It certainly represents a step down for the heights of Teens of Denial and Twin Fantasy.